From our studios in Atlanta, this is CBT News.
Rune Hauge is the head of growth with Drive Motors and joins us now to discuss a group of buyers your dealership is or should eventually be connected with, Millennials. Rune, thanks for taking the time to join us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. It's great being here.
Okay, Rune, in your perspective, who are Millennials?
Millennials are people born between 1981 and 1999. It's important for marketers to make this distinction because people tend to differ in their purchasing behavior depending on certain sets of characteristics. And when you are born and what generation you belong to tend to be some of the more important characteristics to segment. So dealers really need to think about these things when they tailor their marketing content to target these various groups.
Okay, that's obviously important to dealers. So how are they different in the way that they shop?
Well, it's no secret that people born in the 80s and the 90s and also later generations tend to gravitate more towards the internet when shopping than previous generations. So for instance, when my dad is shopping for a car, he'll typically visit a handful of different dealerships, pick up a few brochures, go home, maybe do a little bit of research online because obviously he has access to the internet, and review with his wife, and go back to a select few dealerships, do some test driving perhaps, and then finally deciding on what vehicle he wants. Whereas when someone like me shops for a car, I will do all of my research exclusively online. I will even go to the step where I will, if I'm buying a new vehicle, go to the OEM site and customize that vehicle to my specific requirements and specifications. Then I will go to the dealership or to the dealership's website rather and look for a vehicle that fits those specific requirements that I have. So it's really important for dealerships to be able to accommodate that type of experience.
Okay, so then why should dealers be concerned about this, especially if they're not doing that right now and appealing and attracting millennials to their website?
Well, as more transactions are being conducted online, there's no question that dealers, as any other retail vertical, has to keep up with the times. So what we're seeing now is that, obviously younger generations will inevitably make up a larger portion of total consumer spend. And in order to accommodate them and stay relevant, dealers really need to embrace e-commerce in order to reach those subsets of customers, which is making up an ever-increasing portion of consumer spend.
Okay, so what should dealers do to reach these buyers? Because like you've said several times, they're going online to buy. Is there a certain time that these millennials are going?
That's a great question. As more products and services are available online than ever before, consumers really have no reason to shop at any other time than the time that is convenient for them, which is often outside of dealership hours. And as a result of this, we've seen a pretty decent amount of used car platforms pop up in recent years, trying to accommodate this new trend. And dealers today actually have a pretty big advantage because not only do they have a business model that is proven to work, but they also have access to a lot more inventory. But the challenge is to keep up with the times and stay relevant as an ever-increasing portion of consumers choose to shop online and choose to shop at hours where outside of typical retail hours.
Okay, so what are some things, Rune, dealers need to think about when creating an e-commerce strategy? And is social media in there as far as, reaching out to the crowd on Instagram or Snapchat and other websites like that?
Well, high level, there are really three things that dealers need to think about. One is how to attract customers. In other words, what do they need to do before an actual transaction occurs? And secondly, how to engage customers, how to create the most seamless experience during the transaction. And then finally, how to take care of fulfillment. So making sure that the transaction stays seamless and that the consumer actually gets what they expected to get. So to take the first thing first, it's really important that dealers are present where their shoppers are present. Younger generations tend to seek a lot of information on social media. So dealers really should be looking to spend a pretty big portion of their online marketing spend on social media, and perhaps take some of the spend that they've typically used for traditional lead gen and put that towards social media marketing efforts and drive traffic to their websites instead of spending money on buying leads. And this fuels into the next step, or the next thing that the dealers really should think about, which is, what do they do when someone have visited their website? What experience are they offering their shoppers when they're on the website? Which, if you think about it, should instill the same type of trust and confidence as you would want to instill on a shopper entering your showroom. So a few things to think about there is to make the design experience as seamless as possible. So for instance, if you compare it with Amazon or Apple or any of these consumer platforms that do almost all their transactions online, you'll notice that design really takes a high seat. Ease of use and instilling a sense of trust in the consumer is really important. And one of the practical things that dealers can do there is choosing a conversion tool that is part of the native website experience. So the shopper feels as if they're making the transaction on the dealer site, and that's really, really important for conversions. And then finally, once someone, provided you have a conversion tool, of course, once someone has placed an order, it's important to treat these as actual orders and not merely leads. So instead of calling up a shopper and asking about their interest in a certain type of vehicle, you really need to understand that in the shopper's mind, in the consumer's mind, they bought a car when they place an online car order. So that involves training your BDC to pick up the phone and make sure that the consumer is still confident in the purchase they made, congratulate them on their new car, tell them what information they need to provide in order to be ready when they come and pick up the vehicle, and then finally ask them, when do you want to come and pick up your new car?
And that's exactly right. Rune Hauge is the head of growth with Drive Motors. Rune, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you for your content.
Thank you for watching the official news source of the retail automotive industry, CBT News.